Hello crypto friends, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I have a little bit of some bad news regarding Bitcoin. All right, you probably saw the thumbnail and of course the title, so you have an idea of what I'm going to be talking about. All right, and you're probably thinking to yourself, well, Edward, in your last video, you just talked about how Bitcoin's going to $100,000. Yes, I did say that, but I did also mention that Bitcoin was going to go to $100,000 in 3 years time, right? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about mid to short-term time frame. All right, so I'm talking within the next couple of weeks. So if you're watching this in December 2019, whatever, or next year, then this does not apply to you. But this applies towards from now, which is August 21st to around September, October or so. All right, so let's get right into the technical analysis. And here's why I believe that Bitcoin is going to be dropping pretty hard within the next couple of weeks. All right, so first of all, let's take a look at the higher time frames. Right now I'm on the weekly charts, right? So that allows me to view Bitcoin from a longer term perspective. And as right now, here's what I've been noticing for the past couple of weeks, I'd argue past couple of months now, since pretty much back in June, is that we haven't been able to cross above that $14,000 resistance structure. Okay, so around that area, we haven't been able to make higher highs since then. And I kind of discussed about this in a few videos back, how, personally, I do believe that Bitcoin is in a large consolidating state. And this to me still plays a huge influence. I think the fact that we haven't been able to cross that lets me know that it's very probable that we won't be crossing this anytime soon, at least probably not this year. All right, personally, I think it's not going to be crossed until maybe either late this year or next year. All right, so it'll be a while. And so now, if you actually draw your trend lines, right, from back in like $20,000 towards $14,000 or so, right? This was $14,000. I'm working on Binance, by the way, so but for the most part, this applies to pretty much any exchange out there. But yeah, so if you apply the trend line from here, right, from its highest peak towards its previous peak, and you then apply its lower, trend line, right, from back in like 3,100 to 4,100, excuse me, you then can see that we are still pretty much in this large consolidating zone, right? We still have this huge gap to fill. And in my opinion, I think we're very likely to fill this gap before we start to see a breakout long term. Okay, so what am I referring to? Personally, I believe that we're going to be making some lower lows back towards that trend line, right? So let me pull up the vertical support structures. So personally, I think we're going to see lows of around $8,000 first within the next couple of weeks. And we're very likely going to touch down on this support structure, right? So around anywhere from 8,000 to perhaps 7,500, around that range. And then it's very likely we're going to see a bounce, right? We're going to see a bounce pretty tremendously, maybe back towards 9,000 or so, right? I think it's going to be a huge fake out that a lot of people are going to want to hop back in. But personally, I don't think that this could last a little while. I think this could very well take us down towards another leg towards this support structure, down towards like 6,500, all right? And the reason I'm saying that we could very well go down towards 6,500 is, again, because of this trend line right here, right? This supporting structure. And also, if you pull up the EMAs, right? The EMAs look like they want to see a cross towards the downside, really. So we could very well start to see EMAs crossing like this. And then, we get a nice support structure, and then we see a cross again before, we start uptrending once again. So personally, within the next couple of weeks or so, I think that Bitcoin is going to be dropping quite significantly. All right, because on a smaller time frame, I know a lot of people, a lot of influencers are talking about this support structure right here. They're saying, you know what, we're going to be mooning from here, we're going to be uptrending. And the truth is, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that we're going to be, consolidating and then, making higher highs from here. I've been kind of, if you've been following me on Facebook or on Discord, I've been kind of talking about this a little bit. Links on the description below, so if you want to check that out. But essentially, I don't think we're going to be, consolidating and then breaking out, right? I think that's what a lot of people are expecting. And when I see a lot of people expecting the same thing, it lets me know that, perhaps it might not happen, right? And in the event that this does happen, then everything that I'm saying right now is completely invalidated. And at that point, I would be 100% long, and we would make higher highs. We'd go to 20,000, 30,000. Who knows, right? But the probability of this for me right now just doesn't seem very likely. At least not right now. I think that we've already retested this support structure multiple times, actually. All right, we're on our fourth retest on this support structure, and in my opinion, once you retest something multiple times, it's very likely for it to break. And so that's what happened back at 6,000, right? We were hitting the support structure a lot of times. And so eventually, once we hit it enough times, it ended up breaking that support structure, and we ended up dropping, of course, significantly. So I think it's a similar case right here. I think that we could just be, eventually we're going to maybe perhaps see one more retest towards the upside, and then we're going to break that, right? And then eventually hitting our first support, which is around, again, 8,000, 8,500, who knows, right? But that's where I'm expecting a first kind of real bounce, before, possibly making another leg down towards like 6,500 or so. And again, you're probably saying, well, Edward, why are you so bearish? Well, it's not that I'm bearish. I don't believe that Bitcoin is going to break out this year. I think a lot of people are just hoping for that, right? I know a lot of people are wishing that Bitcoin will make higher highs and we start to begin its uptrend. But the truth is, in my opinion, like markets, they tend to elongate, right? Over time, they tend to expand. And so for us to get proper consolidation, and for us to make some higher highs at this point, I do think it's very possible and very likely, that we retest this support structure and, before, making higher highs again. So we could be very well faced, with a long-term wedge like this. And I did talk about this in my last video. And like I said before, long-term, I am pretty bullish, guys. I do think that within the next 3 years, like around 2021 or so, around 2021 into 2022, I do think that Bitcoin is going to hit $100,000 easily, over $100,000 in my opinion. All right. And so long term, if you're bullish, if you're a holder of Bitcoin, then this does not faze you, right? Because long term, Bitcoin will be at a much higher price action. But short term, I do believe that we are going to get a pretty strong retrace towards perhaps its support structure down there. So that's kind of like my first guess. Now let's go on to perhaps a second scenario. So another scenario that's also very likely, I think it's also very possible, is that we could also just hit its support structure down here at around perhaps 8,500 or so. And then we could honestly just be consolidating like this for a very long time, right? We could see a long-term wedge, which in my opinion would kind of suck because Bitcoin would be almost, I'm not going to say untradeable, but it's going to be very slow. And it's going to be at a point where every move that it makes is going to be almost insignificant. I mean, 30% moves are great and all, but unless you're margin trading, that's not going to be too crazy. But this could very well also give us the opportunity for altcoins to start exploding, right? So this could be a good possibility or a good scenario for altcoins to start making higher highs. So this is also technically another possibility, right? That Bitcoin could be making long term. So. And then eventually, like I said before, going into 2020, we could be, again, start breaking out into 2021 or so. But as right now, this is what I'm saying. This is what I personally believe. I do think that Bitcoin is going to start seeing some red within the next couple of weeks or so, long term, right? So short term, we could get a small bounce here, but long term, I do believe we are going to start perhaps downtrending, at least for a little while there. The last thing to kind of support my case is also look at the weekly MACD. All right, the weekly MACD does not lie. Every single time we've gotten across towards the downside, we have had a bear market essentially, right? We have been making lower lows for quite some time. And the last time we had a cross towards the upside was back in, of course back in February, right? This is when we began its uptrend, right? So literally this period right here is when we had its MACD crossing, and that is when we of course had its uptrend, and now we're about to get a MACD crossing towards the downside. So it's very likely we're going to begin an extended bear market, at least short term, for the next couple of months, in my opinion. So again, that's another thing that, in my opinion, is going to prove my case. So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Are you bullish? Am I being just a bear? Are you going to say that backed it's going to have an influence? Personally, I don't think it's going to have an influence. I think the markets go on regardless of whatever fundamentals happen. So, but yeah, so that's my personal opinion. Let me know what you think. And like I said before, if you haven't already, check out my Facebook group. Link's going to be in the description below. It's known as the Cryptocurrency Traders Group. Again, you can check that out. Link's going to be in the description below. I like to, go live on here. We went live not too long ago, and we had a pretty good discussion. So if you want to check that out, be sure to, head on to the link in the description below. And I hope to see you there, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'll see you on the next one.